All right, Fumetsu no Anate, or To Your Eternity. So it's been almost a week now since the ending of season 2. And how are we thinking about season 2 compared to season 1? Sometimes, guys, when you're a part of a certain part of an arc, there's some parts that we're gonna like more than others. And through the whole process since the beginning of time of Fushi, we're at the point where season 1 was most definitely better because it was the very beginning. It had a certain special aspect to the story, and it's the most crucial and foundational part of Fushi's character. So season 2 leaves that behind, those very iconic little arcs through all those characters that he met, that he grew to love and became humanistic. That's when he got to learn how to be human in season 1. But in season 2, he already had a majority of that experience. So now, season 2, while it's not as good as season 1, it still has some great characteristics about it. So it's your boy Otaku-san. This is a how-to anime video, and in this video we are going to be recapping season 2, and we're going to discuss the things that made season 1 really good and what made season 2 maybe not live up as good as season 1, but there's still some good things about it. So as I mentioned earlier, season 1, what did season 1 do that was just completely mind-blowing? It was Fushi learning how to be a human, and in order to do that, all the little stories since the very beginning, when episode 1 with that boy in the tundra, that literally set off all of the rest of the season. The tone of the season was set off from that very first episode, and it extended to March, it extended to Tonari at closer to the end of the season, Pyoran, Perona, and my favorite character in season 1, Gugu. All those little arcs in all of season 1 were very, very special because it taught Fushi how to be human, and it was able to elicit the strongest emotions out of us as viewers. And what is art is supposed to do? Art is supposed to get you to feel something, and it gets you to experience the emotions to the highest degree. That is what great art does. It makes something come out of you. It makes you realize certain emotions. It just brings that out of you. So season 1, through all those characters and that connection, season 1 is such a foundational season that no other season from now on, especially since I've read, I've been caught up with the manga, I can tell you guys, none of the newer arcs is gonna live up to season 1. But that's okay. There are still some good things about these newer arcs, and there's still some great things about season 2. And let's just start off with Bonchin. He was the star of season 2. I don't think anyone else comes close to his character, because he is the one main character in season 2 that was able to have a similar growth like all the characters did in season 1. He had his rise, and then he had his fall. And usually how season 1 ended is with a character dying, but in season 2 he survived, and he becomes a crucial, very, very worthy character to be the center of the rest of the season and to kind of be that other guidance to Fushi. In season 1, the Beholder, he was the one that's pretty much guiding Fushi through his journey, with him trying to figure out what he's supposed to do with fighting the Knockers. But in season 2, you had Bonchin, who's kind of act as that person of wisdom who has his own growth and his own little faults that had to literally change who he was. He had to pretend die and become another person and help lead Fushi into fighting against the Knockers. He was that general. So other characters like, Cairo, Messar, Kai, Echo, Kamu, all these other characters, they just don't live up anywhere close to all the other characters in season 1, like Tonari, Gugu, March, the boy, the Tundra boy in episode 1. Fushi never developed that very deep relationship with them, so it's hard for us as the audience who rely on these very close interactions between Fushi and this other character through a long extended time. So like with Gugu, he spent like years with Gugu, so you develop a very deep bond. But these other characters, they're a little bit more there to kind of serve Fushi, rather than Fushi being a part of the life with these other characters that went on to eventually die. So death, and having very, very deep consequences as death, is just nowhere to compare that to these other characters who get to survive, who get to live on, to kind of get to live this happily ever after, which is what season 2 ended with. While all these other characters in season 2 had their specific roles and they helped Fushi out, it's just when you have so many other characters that develop these incredible stories with Fushi, it hits a lot different when you're trying to sell these deep, you know, stories that makes you emotionally attached to certain characters just to rip it away. You can never really live up to that. So these other characters, they act as what they are. They become side characters. Rather than in season 1, all these characters in season 1, they act as like a co-main character, or you can even say these characters were the main characters, with Fushi just being strung along, living with them and learning what human is like, what it is to be human. Let's talk about the antagonist. So the antagonist from season 1, you could say it is Hayase, and then along her line of lineage, it eventually got to Kahaku. Kahaku had what? He had the knocker in his arm, and he kind of acts as that ultimate antagonist in the end, who we all know is the antagonist. He literally has the knocker in his arm. In the back of our minds, or really, you know, not even in the back of our minds, we know Kahaku, it's kind of shady, right? The entire time we know he is probably going to be the bad guy, which he kind of ultimately was. So to me, between the antagonists all in season 1 and season 2, it's kind of a wash. I never thought like knockers themselves were actually that strong of, you know, let's say a bad guy character that fits that mold. They're not as interesting as kind of the interactions that Fushi has with these other characters, but they do provide that catalyst, the vehicle to kind of take away those characters, to kind of make it tough for Fushi and these characters eventually dying and such. So Hayase, definitely a pretty good antagonist at the very beginning of season 1, and then she kind of disappears for a little bit, and then she kind of comes back during that Tonari arc. I just wish they came up with a better kind of antagonist, but I don't want to spoil it if you guys haven't read the manga or anything like that. I mean, it is what it is. It just is what it is. The antagonist in To Your Eternity, it's just never really been that exciting. In the Church of Bennett, I think they kind of serve as that other antagonist, but the Church of Bennett and then like the priests and everything, and with them trying to basically burn Fushi for eternity to keep him in there, they're used more as the archetype of church and religion as general in the most negative sense. You know, it's kind of like the Catholic priest trope, right? That's basically what they're using as kind of the bad guy in this. It's just that negative part of the church trope. So there was no real deep connection there with the antagonist. It was just more of a broad scope of, you know, we understand what they want to do. They want to be the church, and, you know, they represent God and all this stuff. And who is this Fushi character, this immortal who could be a demon? We don't have control over that, so let's get rid of him. So that is something that's, you know, a story that's been told so many times. You know, what is something recent like the Rise of the Shield Hero season 1, you had the church being like kind of bad guys. You have many stories where churches are not like that great of people or that great of an organization. So it is what it is with that. But let me say this one thing that I actually, you know, kind of like what they did with the Knockers and Kahaku. The fact that the Knockers got to live and be passed on from generation to generation, from Hayase to eventually Kahaku. What the hell is a knocker, right? There's some kind of metaphor here, right? The Knockers themselves, they're not like a human entity or anything, so it's hard to kind of understand what the hell is this villain, right? So the fact that it lived through Kahaku and then showed a little bit of human emotions and showed human like instincts of wanting to survive, and, you know, whatever entity they are, they actually have human characteristics. They want to live. That's why they're trying to get rid of Fushi and all this. So Kahaku kind of becomes that vehicle for the Knockers to become more human-like. And as we can see at the end of season 2, the Knockers want to live. So that's how Kahaku was able to get the Knocker to come back into his body, because they're the generation of people that somehow are able to, you know, pass on this Knocker onto their offspring. Antagonists are better when they become a lot more relatable. And how do you become a lot more relatable? You become more human-like. And that's what I love what they did with the Knockers in season 1. They're just like this one thing that's just fighting Fushi. Like, why are they fighting them? What the hell are they? Why do they exist, right? We're asking all these questions. Those things never really get answered. But in season 2, they take a step up. You know, there's an arc, right? And then there's gonna be, there's an arc. I don't want to, you know, spoil or anything, but there's an arc. We don't really know what they are in season 1. In season 2, they become more human-like, and that's what I like about it. And then one last little criticism of season 2 is there's these story arcs. I know Jujutsu Kaisen 0, if you guys read the manga or watched the movie, there's these like school playground kind of arcs, right? And what I mean by school playground arcs is where it's like, you meet me at 7 p.m. outside of like the school playground or whatever, right? And there we're gonna fight. I don't like those kind of arcs. Hey, meet me here, we're gonna fight and duke it out, right? That's basically what happened with the Knockers, telling Fushi, hey, we're gonna attack this town on this day during this year. Prepare yourself, we're taking you guys out. And that was basically it. And that left a lot to be desired about some episodes, where they kind of felt like it was like meandering a little bit. They try to build up characters like with Mesar, and then the princess. We kind of learn about that. You know, there's a little bit of Kai. There's, you know, a little bit of these other characters that they're trying to build. They had a little bit of an episode trying to explore a little bit of Echo. Those just were not really that exciting. Like I said, once you have season 1, where they built this amazing emotional connection, and then they rip it away. Season 2, when they try to character develop newer characters, it would never live up to what we think of season 1, because of how deep and emotional that attachment was. Because season 1 was so god mode, season 2 feels like it's even worse because of that. But in reality, it was actually, you know, it was decent. I wouldn't say it was that good or that great, but it was decent, right? And I don't want to say the word mid has become something that, you know, I might be overusing a bit, but I don't want to quite say that. You know, The Rise of the Shiro season 1, if you guys heard me talk about that, I made a whole video about that. Season 1 was so great, but season 2, you know, it just has to be like decent. But if the season is so bad, it would sour your perception of it if it gets so damn bad. But season 2 was nowhere near really bad. It started off actually kind of slow, and then when Bonchin carried the season, and it made everything at the very least okay. It had a good floor where if you already watched season 1, I feel comfortable telling people, hey, you should still watch season 2. There's a lot of cool things about it. Because of Bonchin's power, it becomes that much more interesting because it all coincides with Fushi. So yeah, guys, love season 1, a classic that I will always be able to go directly to because of how amazing it was and how people will probably experience it. It did remind me of like certain Studio Ghibli movies and those anime movies where you just build this certain emotional connection. They make it beautiful, you know, and then very sad at the same time. Season 2, nowhere near that, but you know, we know the characters, we know the story, and there's still some good things that happen out of this, and the arc continues for these characters and onto the next season, which is already in production. So yeah, guys, let me know what you guys think about season 2. Do you guys agree with me? Season 1 is obviously better to me. Season 2, decent, not great, but not bad either. I love Bonchin. He's my favorite character of season 2. And yeah, man, I love the fact that all these characters are coming back, and I can't wait to see the next arc, the next season be animated. There's some interesting things that happen in there. The next arc, I don't think people are gonna like it as much as season 1, but comparing it to season 2, it's kind of close. It's close. I'm not sure if I could say if it's bad or worse, but you know, we'll wait and see how all the animation comes out. So yeah, guys, it's your boy Otaku-san. Here on this channel, we give our raw opinions about our favorite anime. Do me a favor, guys, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Check out my other anime figure channel. If you guys collect or anything like that, go ahead and check that out. I have a blog, otakusen.com. And yeah, once again, it's your boy Otaku-san. This is a how-to anime video. I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you guys on the next video.